over the things we've learned. The floor is open. Okay, Omojo Odo, your hand is up. You can unmute yourself, ma.
Good morning, Prof. Good
Yeah, good
morning,
morning.
colleague.
Yeah, good
Okay, so
morning.
I'd like to start the conversation from the first place in my own understanding. So, in my own understanding, policies are, I like to put them up as laid down guidelines for operation in various aspects. So, I like to see environmental policy as a laid down guideline on how the environment should be handled, the way we are to do things. And one of the key aspects of environmental policy I'd like to speak on is integration. Integration means to carry along, to connect dots, to connect people, to connect sectors, and to bring everybody to the drawing board. And it's a very important aspect of environmental policy and any form of policy. Before policies are carried out, there's always stakeholder engagement, responses, analysis, and even baseline studies. So integration can involve different sectors. In our note, it says agriculture, transportation, energy, education. The educational sector also comes in. But keenly, since the environment is is a I like to call it that it's the base of everything that happens, because without the environment, no activity can happen. Everything that takes place, the policies of environment have need to also be integrated to the learning, the agricultural processes, manufacturing processes, industrialization, and even urbanization. Integration is very important, because it is when these policies are integrated we are sure of the fact that whatsoever we are doing, we are going to bear in mind that we are trying to be sustainable, be careful. It brings that sense of responsibility and awareness in whatsoever we do. That's all I have to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a good contribution. Very good one.
Thank you. Thank you, Omojo. Omojo, thank you very much. Omojo
Thank you.
emphasizes on integration, that every aspect needs to be carried along. The economical, the environment, urbanization, development as it is, every aspect needs to be well integrated together. One should not be at the expense of the other one. We cannot be urbanizing, we cannot be bringing about development while the environment suffers, why we are not protecting the environment. So Omo just emphasized this morning is that there should be integration, there should be what she termed to be stakeholder engagement, where the needs of the people are well articulated, so that the people are not giving what they don't need. It will be what they actually need. Thank you very much. Any other person? You raise up your hand and we'll grant you permission to speak. And if you are just joining us, once again, good morning. This is ENS 811 class, Environment and Development. The morning section is a class that has been taken by our very amiable Professor Emmanuel Tembi. And this morning, he granted me the privilege to moderate this class by way of we asking our questions, by way of we bringing contributions from what we have learned so far in the past 3 days. In the last 48 hours or 72 hours, what have we learned from each section? So if you have a question, if you have a contribution, there are 4 hands up. This is the time. Mr. Richard, over to you. You can unmute yourself, sir.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My is a contribution, and this contribution is coming in the aspect of environmental development, which I look at it in a sense means developing without destroying. It is about progress with responsibility. As someone pursuing environmental sustainability with a background in urban and regional planning, I look at this concept sits well at the core of my profession. And again, I look at some objectives of environmental development as improving quality of life, reducing environmental degradation, or promoting intergenerational equity. We can also see supports economic development without destroying of ecosystem. This example sits well in our country, Nigeria, as afforestation project to combat desertification in the north, on flood control and drainage planning in urban centers. I first mentioned that this environmental sustainability have sits well with my background of study from where the field I'm coming from. And if we look at waste recycling initiative in cities like Lagos and Abuja are actually improving lives on a daily basis. And if we can still say environmental impact assessment, EIA, which is being carried out before major projects, are examples of environmental development in our country, Nigeria. So I felt I have learned something, and I felt what I've learned, another person also should at least acquire it. So that is a little I want to contribute. Thank you so much for the opportunity, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a good one. That's a very good one.
Okay, there are Mr. Imoto.
As they hear like this,
Dr.
if not because now poverty join me and you.
Good morning, Prof. Good morning, class rep. Good morning, entire class. This is an interesting discussion. Before the first contributor came out to make a contribution, I was also looking from the angle of integration, that since we are all complaining about environmental degradation and some of the limitations and the undoings that we are finding ourselves, I think it is good to advocate that the policies put in place by environmental Ministry of Environment or environmental scientists be incorporated or carried along with other organs of the government, other sectors of government like urban and uh, town planning, so that we are talking of deforestation. Is it possible? Is it not possible that uh, every household in the town be made compulsory by the urban and town developers, such that every house has a plant or two planted in it as a law, so that this issue of forest deforestation and all of that be looked into? I think it's a very important aspect of integration, so that other sectors who are not necessarily or directly involved can also be carried along, and such policies be put together for the good and sustainability of the environment. That's my contribution. Thank you very much.
Very nice one from you, my brother. It will be reasonable that I'm sure that thing would have been part of their mandate. It would have been part of their own policies. But sometimes, like we said, enforcement, one of the challenges with policy is enforcement. So it's very likely that that thing would have been part of their mandate. But enforcement challenges may be the limiting factor for now. That's a good one. That's a very good one to look at. It's a good perspective to look at. Thank you. There are other people that are on the line, so I will start at that point. Just to say thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Imoto. Thank you. That is why we've been saying that we are now advocates of the environment.
Yes.
One of our sisters speaking yesterday, she said they in the boys' brigade, I mean girls, something. They brought trees and planted in their camp in Abuja. And
Very
they went
good.
into the environment to clean the environment. And a lot of people came and joined them. So we will also, as a class, begin to plan and think of how we can carry out advocacy visits to some of these organizations, some of these establishments. Very soon, the rain will return. And we can tell them that, look, let us advocate, let us speak to people so that each home have one or two trees within them. We'll be inviting a lady now, Mrs. Adole. Deborah, your hand has been up. You can unmute and speak, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, class rep. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, madam.
Thank you for the privilege of learning under you, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Welcome, sir. When the first speaker was speaking, she talked about policies. And I see policies as roadmaps. They are rules. These rules, when followed, would lead to successful, sustainable development.
Yes.
And when we look at some of the SDGs, there was one of the SDG that was captured on cities, sustainable cities. And also, if we have these policies on ground and we acknowledge that they are roadmaps and we follow them, there's possibility for sustainable development. Let's take, for example, as town planners or urban planners, you can inculcate the planting of trees, like yes, trees in cities, not just in parks, and this can help in reducing most of the greenhouse effects that has led to with the climate change and all. Generally, you understand, sir, there are some developed cities that have flowers, trees planted even on the walls of their houses, high rises. so as to reduce greenhouse effects. So if we follow these policies, if we follow these rules generally, yes, sustainable development is possible. Then secondly, she talked about integration. I see integration as a way of, let me use the kitchen language, mixing. You know, when there's this blend between sectors, you carry along inclusivity with the general public, you hear their pleas and all. I think it will also give us a way of knowing, okay, what to do, how to do it, why we should do it, and where we should do it. Then thank you. That's the little contribution I have.
That's fine. That's very, very fine. Thank you very much. That is the issue with green cities.
Yes,
Instead
sir.
of having white cities, you're advocating for green cities. That is
Yes.
perfect. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Powerful. Mr. George Akanyi, your hand is up, sir. Mr. George Akanyi, you can over to you, sir.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Prof. Good morning,
Yeah,
my
good
fellow
morning,
mates.
George.
Yes, thank you very much for the lecture so far. I want to make my contribution on the natural resource conservation.
Okay.
There can be no development in the environment if we are not conserving resources and then the way we use the resources in the environment. Resource conservation has to do with the management, the protection, the responsible use of such natural resources in our environment. You know, this environment has to do with the water, how we use water, soil, mineral resources, and then conservation of the wildlife. When we do this, we are trying to prevent the depletion and ensure that these are available for the future. Even if we are not there, the future generation can also be involved. There are some ways we can do this. Like we know, we have the 3 Rs, which has to do with the reduced use of these resources in the environment, the reuse of these resources. We can recycle this, the way we use them, we determine if we can also recycle them. And then, Prof, you added one, reject. There are some resources in the environment we may reject, and then they will help us manage the environment very well. As we do this, there will be no depletion in the environment, and then our environment will be conserved for the future. Thank you. That is my contribution.
Very well, thank you. Rejection is a demand side strategy for waste avoidance. You know, it doesn't cost anything. You just said no. For example, if they offer you something a package that you don't want, you can just politely say no. And you can underrate it, but imagine that 100 people say no. Then there's a huge impact already. If they say no to that particular, this nylon bags, which we call polythene bags, or in fact single-use plastics, any of them. If you say no, if they give you straw and you say no, assuming that 100 people say what straw is served from. Now imagine that the city says no, then the city is already clean. So rejection is a demand side waste avoidance strategy. Then the policy is a supply side. Policy has to come from either the government or an organized system like a city development council or a market association. They will just say, no, in our market, we don't have material. It's a supply side, and then they will enforce it. So that is just the additional information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
We will now go to Mr. Abdul Malik Mohammed.
The branch is there now.
No,
okay,
branch
no, go
also,
ahead with.
Morning, sir. Morning,
go ahead and speak.
Good morning, Prof. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, Yeah, good
Thank you
morning,
for
Mohammed.
yes, sir. Thank you for the privilege of learning under you. In fact, this past few days has been very important to my own personal thinking. Looking at
Mm,
me living in a place, a rural area. Let me just say because I was privileged to serve in Niger State and
mm,
Mokwa, so I witnessed the flood that happened last year in Mokwa, which has been
mm,
touching and in fact, this course has been a broadening thing that I've learned a lot from because looking at the environment, I've observed that environment should not be seen as just a passive backdoor or back drop of discussion. It should be the main important thing to discuss because just like one of the contributors said that is the basic. Every other thing that has to happen, environment comes first because talking about urbanization, development, environment is the starting point. And I've come to realize that environment should be seen as an interconnected system where it brings everything together, looking at the biosphere, looking at the biotic and the abiotic, looking at the living things and the non-living things, is the one that brings everything together and is the one that makes it interconnected, is the one that makes it work. So I'm looking at it that conserving our natural resources because it baffles me because since I got here, I observe a lot of things and I keep asking questions. Like, what are the questions I've been asking? The deforestation, the level of deforestation here in my locality where I am happens to be alarming because, and I couldn't question it much because I see it as a lot of people have seen it as their own livelihood because cutting the trees down, a lot of people see it as their livelihood because there is no any other thing to do. So I'm looking at it from the area of saying that conserving our natural resources should be a thing that is not all the government will do for us. We as a person should be held responsible for our actions. That is, we should create more awareness. That is, let them know the implication. Let them know the implication of what they are doing. Because, like what happened last year in Mokwa, as an experience, talking from experience, is part of the flood disaster happened as a result of a lot of things looking at from our drainage system, looking at the deforestation, because a lot of trees, important trees that has to like at least help in withholding and absorbing waters are not there again. So we should create more awareness so that they can be able to at least know the implication of what they are doing, what is the action, like in the nearest future, is it what is going to be the outcome? We should be able to at least mitigate looking at the area of mitigation, we should be able to at least talk to people, let them know how these things affect in time and what actions we should give example of what has happened to them, how it has been affecting. So I believe if um we are to look at it, I will look at it from the angle of saying that the sorry ah, ah, sorry, hello,
Continue.
sorry.
just
My
continue. There's no
background is
way.
noisy. Sorry.
Don't continue.
Hello,
Don't
can you
worry.
hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you very well.
Yes. So I'm looking at it from the angle of instead of rather than adapting to the like I'm taking it from the experience of the lectures, both lectures, rather than adapting to the problem. Hello.
Yes.
Sorry.
Continue. We
No,
can
go
hear you.
ahead.
Problem of our
Mm,
country. We should rather try to like minimize. Let's be able to change the mindset of the youth because a lot of things has to do the older people knows few things but the youth has to like be involved in these processes in order to make them understand that the future belongs to them and they should be able to at least take responsibility of every action they take, like what I've said about deforestation now. They should, those people that are involved should be able to at least take it that the implication of this thing, they are going to like reap from it too. So it's an
exactly.
I look at the environment as an interconnected system, not just, it functions as an interconnected system, not just a back, a back drop for development. Thank you, sir.
Right, thank you very much, Mohammed. That is cool. Incidentally, I didn't serve. I did my sideways in Kanji Lake National Park, New Busa. So I'm familiar with that terrain very well. That's New Busa. Okay, your own is in Mokwa. Mokwa is before New Busa. Okay, Mokwa is this. Okay, this place that about 300 people
Yes, yes,
got drowned by flood.
of course,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
sir.
Mokwa. Oh, I remember Mokwa. Mokwa is very far now from New Busa. Right, I was thinking of New Busa. No, Mokwa is very
Yes, sir.
far.
Yes, sir.
That is actually at the junction after Jeba. You now come to
Yes,
Mokwa.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh, I remember Mokwa very well. Oh, and that incident is very fresh. Yeah. Right. How did you survive it, by the way? You were staying in the
Yes,
upland.
I'm staying in the town, and the part where I'm staying is a bit safe because
Oh,
after my service, I had a little business I'm running there, so I've been there since. So I looked into the environment before staying. So the place I was safe. I was at the town
okay.
then. Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's true. Thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So I think Ose is there. Governor.
Yes,
Governor,
sir.
you are in charge. Yes.
Yes, sir. So the next person, Mr. Branch.
Is it Branch or Ose now? Okay. Go
So
ahead. Go
Branch.
ahead. You have your list. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Coach Rep. Thank you so very much, Prof, for the presentation so far and my fellow colleagues. Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
contribute on the policy. I think we should advocate for a policy on education. There should be an educational policy on environment to enable the environmental sustainability course to be taught at a basic level so that we can have environmental champions that we grow up to become environmental experts, become environmental experts. I think at that level, they will be able to have in there what it means to take care of the environment. We understand that environment is where we all live, and we need to take care of it. And then secondly, we should advocate for state assemblies or national assembly to manage state government to have waste management plans, not refuse dump sites again, but waste management plans to reduce indiscriminate dumping of waste that have adverse effect on the environment. Now, in terms of conservation, I think there should also be a policy or a legislation to limit the number of vehicles an individual can own to limit the emissions that always come from.
Okay. Branchy, I like your submissions. All of them are supply side. You want something to be done. You want something to be done. That is how most of the people, most of the individual community members, that is what they do. They will flee refuse. They are the ones that carry out indecent
Vehicles
behavior.
should be.
Hello? Are you still on? Branchy, I was responding to your contribution. I say all of them are supply side driven. You want things to be done. You want things to be done. But what about the individual, the demand side? You are our own levels now. What are we supposed to do? This course is about empowering us with the knowledge and the strategies as much as possible to be able to advocate for these things you are saying. We can show example, like I told you what I do. I don't use most of these single-use plastics are not my friend though. As a person, if I go to shop and you hand out a polythene bag to me, I will not collect it. I refuse to collect it. And because I am saying that if that serves as an example, and each time those people, the cashiers, they are this, the people, the sellers, the retailers, once they laugh. So sometimes they immediately notice what I'm saying, what I want, the impact of what I do. When they reject, they look at me twice. Or even if they laugh, they know that there's a reason. They are conscious of the reason why I'm rejecting. So we have a lot of policies. So honestly, a lot of policies. But the most important, the most challenging thing is enforcement. So at this level that we are intervening now, trying to expose us to environmental issues, we should be thinking of more of what we can do, what we can offer, as opposed to what government should do or what the legislature should do. What can we offer? We are in various places of public, or most of us are in the public sector where we can create this impact. When there are meetings ongoing in our various sectors, we can champion the inclusion of these brilliant ideas into planning, into decision making. So it is not to wait for other people. That is the worry that has been the common practice, is to wait for others. So you will do whatever you want, because it is not your responsibility, it is the responsibility of other people to do certain things. So let us remove that idea and begin to think of what we can do as ambassadors of the environment and help the situation. The issue with making policy on vehicles, nobody tells you, if you have 5 vehicles and you want to drive them, drive them. If you can buy the fuel, fine. But you know how your pocket will pinch you. So, so that one alone, naturally, will let you know that. Although government officials, because they are not using their own, they use taxpayers' resources. They have litany of vehicles to them. But if it is your own vehicle, if it is your own, I'm sure you are not going to hitting 5 vehicles on the road at the same time, except you are very, you don't know what to do with the money itself. And I wouldn't say worthy. Even if you are worthy, there are things you can do reasonably with that money than to hit 10 vehicles on the road. So what am I saying? I'm saying that you don't need a legislation on those kind of things. The assembly can be busier with other things than to come and put legislation on number of vehicles. The economy alone will not permit you to use several vehicles at the same time, except your source of income is not what we know today. So having said that, I think I want to stop at that point. There are other people's hands up. Rashid, you can continue from there. You can assign somebody else. Come on.
Yeah. Mr. Ose, you can unmute yourself, sir.
Okay. Good morning, Prof. Good morning, class rep and the rest of the class.
Good morning.
Okay. Mine is a reaction, more of a reaction to some of the contributions made by some members of the class. Imoto was talking about greening in urban centers. And he was talking about a kind of policy or a law. Yes, like you said, like Prof rightly said, there are actually provisions in laws. The Benue State Urban Development Act of 1986, for instance, provides that you should only develop 45% of your plot. The remaining percentage should be used for greening. It's implementation that becomes a challenge. If not, the laws are there. Then I think Branchard talked about policy on education to provide environmental education to people. I think almost, if you look at policies on environment generally, the policies that I've looked at, they've always made provision for environmental education. So the policies are there. It is implementation that has always been our challenge. Then on waste management, I hope the plan that one private investor has might be of help to us, to those of us who are living in Makurdi, if it comes to fruition. There is one company called Sector Lead. They have proposed waste to energy stroke wet at ABC. The EIA process has been completed. They are thinking of starting construction. I don't know when exactly, but they passed the stage of EIA. So I hope for us who are in Benue, and in fact, I learned that the State Ministry of Environment is also setting up a committee that will help them to harness the waste eventually when the company comes on board, to harness all the waste generated within the state so that it will be channeled to the company for energy and, of course, wet creation. Thank you. This is my little contribution.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for those wonderful issues you have, those wonderful contributions that you have made. They are actually very vital. And we look forward to the coming up on board of those facilities. But me, I'm not an advocate of recycling. I want waste avoidance because that is the cheapest. That is the cheapest of all. Most of the waste can be avoided. And then the little can now be handled either by recycling or by treatment. Anytime you leave the simplest, Nigerians want the most difficult solutions, which they will not be able to implement. There was a time the state government many years ago, I think more than 15 years, they started a waste recycling plant along Uniagric Road in Makurdi local government here. That thing is still there. In fact, the people are slowly beginning to build. It's becoming a housing estate already. That was something started many years ago. So we start things that we will not be able to accomplish. That is the problem. Even developed nations are not going for recycling first. The first thing is avoidance. And you do avoidance from the supply side by imposing very prohibitive measures, like you ban certain things out of circulation. You take them out. You take them out by legislation or by policy. You can just make a policy. You can make a fiscal policy or that prohibits importation, production, transportation, and sale of certain products. That is cheaper than coming to begin to talk about. So at that level, the waste will not just be seen. So there is nothing to manage. You are not going to see that waste, so you will not manage it. Is it not neater like that? Than to allow it to come. Then when it comes, you start thinking of how you are going to do this thing. The energy required in recycling is so enormous. And there are always challenges with industrialization. There are always challenges. Before you know it, components are broken down, takes time, and so on. Yeah, I don't fancy. I've seen single-use plastics recycling plants. I've seen things. They use them in making shirts, clothing. I'm not fascinated. How long with that thing? And what is the market for recycled products? When I look at those things, there are simple things that we can do. Government is not interested. It's what is very difficult. Okay, between now and the time that factory comes to the board, imagine the amount of waste. Hello, let me take a call. Good morning, sir. Sir? Good morning, sir. Hey, Viga, sir. But mom can officially. If I hear Kumahashima Yanga Muchiano, but it's not something that you would like to see so much.
Ms. Dofan Wapra, over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning, Coach Rep. Good morning, Prof. Good morning, everyone. Okay, I want to contribute on the issue of natural resources. Sorry, I got interrupted. I want to contribute on the issue of natural resource conservation. As we all know, national resource conservation involves the management and preservation of these natural resources to ensure continuity and availability into the environment. So how do we conserve or preserve these resources around us in regards to water, plants and animals and fossil fuel? I want to talk about plants. For example now, it begins with us. Looking at the issue of deforestation, for instance, we can preserve our forests as individuals or as a community, just like the example the course rep was setting yesterday. We can go to environment and then advocate and educate the people about the need for them to preserve these plants, to avoid indiscriminate felling of trees, because most of these people around us, they don't understand the reason why these plants are there. So they just feel that they can just fell the trees and use them for fuel, use them for expansion of building and other things. So there should be policies made to ensure that if you fell a tree, you should be able to plant two, not just one. If you fell a tree, you should plant two. I think with that, it will encourage them to learn to preserve and conserve these trees. So in essence, I'm trying to say that to discourage deforestation, we have to encourage afforestation in order to preserve this natural resource. Because if there is continuous deforestation, it causes erosion and then the lands becomes bare, and that also leads to poor agricultural yields, just like I was trying to explain yesterday too. So we have to encourage, and this will also help to prevent this plant from going into extinction. If we look at it, there are so many plants that we used to see around us that are no longer in existence. Why? Because the people that fell them were unable to plant those particular species of plants, and that has led to extinction of plant species around us. So it's also good for us, and I've also learned that we encourage the community and the people around us to go into afforestation and not deforestation. That is my contribution. Thank you. Hello. Hello.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
We appreciate your contribution. Very much natural resource conservation. We will now have Adoga. You can bring your hand down, man. Adoga Terry Edache. Mr. Edache, over to you.
Thank you, sir, Kostrel, for giving me the chance. Good morning, Prof. Good morning, class. I want to react to natural resource conservation. Many have reacted already. But I also want us to look at it from a different perspective as well. Using the DPSIR framework model to analyze resource depletion. If you use the DPSIR framework model, that is the driving force, the pressure, the state, impacts, and response, you realize that the forces driving resource depletion or affecting natural resource conservation is simply population growth and economic growth. These are the twin problems causing the whole issue. So in having effective solution to natural resource conservation, you have to go back and track the web of issues. If there is population increase, population is growing at an alarming rate. And we also need to balance the fact that the natural resources is at the service of humanity. So you can't deny them 100% of not touching it. So the advocacy should be for wise use. That is where conservation comes in. Use wisely, then preserve where there is threat of extinction. So I think there's urgent need, as a matter of fact, for population control, birth control rather. Let me break it down. Birth control. We need to start advocating for that people need to control birth. There should be an incentive packages for people who give birth to less, because as much as there are more population, if you go to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, of course, there are basic needs that must be satisfied, and the environment have to pay for that. So we need to emphasize more on population growth, then also economic growth. What type of economic model are we operating in Nigeria? If you look at it, we have not been intentional about anything in Nigeria, anything goes. And that is a major problem. We are very good at talking, excellent speakers in Nigeria, but when it comes to applied context, we are far from there. It has been all about self-serving interest and the whole lot of that. So the economic model that the economic model standards that the world is advocating for is the circular economy, where every waste from a particular enterprise or company is a resource, is an input for another company. That is, the waste product from company A is the raw material for company B. And as such, there will be no waste. And that will also reduce over-dependence on natural resource. That means company B don't need to go to the environment and exploit for its own resource. That is what it means. As your own, the output from your company, which you consider as waste, is my own input for my own company. So we have to become intentional in designing how we operate, how we run our companies. What I mean is that a farm a cassava shell from there, or possibly beans farmer, after harvesting their beans, the shell from the waste material can be channeled into agro-processing company, or maybe possibly there will be a fishery close by that will need that material. So as it's producing that, or possibly a poultry farmer living by have a connection with a fish farmer, so that as is sweeping the poultry fuses or the poo, I don't know the technical terms. I think you guys can help me with that. We'll supply that to a fish farmer, and the chain continue like that. And as such, it will help manage the waste, then reduce our dependence on natural resources. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adoga, for that contribution for the Nigerian industrial system or industrial sector to adopt the circular economy, where waste from a particular company becomes raw material for the other company. Thank you.
Okay, so I wanted to respond. That is a huge concept. Hello?
Yes, sir.
I wanted to say that is a very big contribution. The idea of a circular economy has been widely, globally touted. The limitations are, like you said, you need to have, it can operate in a highly industrialized situation, where the raw materials from one factory are now feeding into, I mean, what you call the waste from one factory are feeding as raw material in another factory. That is the situation that we find ourselves. So until that situation is accomplished, there will be waste that will be unaccounted for. Imagine we are struggling with national grid, with the electricity grid to just service home states now. Imagine the amount of electricity, amount of grid that we need for industrialization. So before those things, those initiatives will materialize, you have a lot of waste that is generated. Those big concepts, I'm not a very, and I'm not an ambassador of those big concepts. I look at what is simple and what can easily be adapted. Waste avoidance, my brothers and sisters, is very easy to do, very easy. Before you start thinking, oh, there is no electricity, you cannot run industries on generators, factories on generators. Avoid this waste and see whether you need waste. A lot of waste can be avoided. Look at single-use products. Even industrialized nations that have all the energy that anybody will need, that will contemplate, they are going on waste avoidance. They are going on waste avoidance. The only theory of waste management for World Bank is waste avoidance. They will never tell you to go for a circular economy. Because if they are giving you fund, they are looking at how the fund can be useful to you. And you can be able to generate and repay. So these big concepts are good, but before they can materialize, the amount of waste that can be generated will even compound that situation. Look at a circular economy means you have the whole system has to be industrialized. Is that what you can see in the midterm? You cannot even see in the next 30 years, 30, 40 years. So what happens now? So we just keep depending on very big theories that even the so-called Western nations are not even fully implementing. If they are implementing, why are they going for waste avoidance? Why are they banning some waste from why are they taking out plastic waste? A country will say no more plastics. A whole nation will say, and even African nations like Kenya have taken out. In Nigeria, Lagos State did signed a policy. Was it a policy? It was a policy against the use of single-use plastics. They have some recycling plans, but they still went for this thing. So let me tell you, waste avoidance, we didn't talk much about it because I think we are going to meet it in second semester. But that is the most important, that is the most successful waste management policy, waste avoidance. Either at the demand level or the supply. The demand level is an example of demand is what I do, what I told you. Don't refuse. There are certain material that you refuse because of the packaging. Refuse the package. Some things you will not buy because of the packaging. Then there are some packages that you also refuse. If everybody refuses, you don't need a factory from US to come on site and then you take the pains of collecting those waste to go and treat and recycle and stuff like that. That is number one. Number two, so I'm not against your circular economy, but I'm saying that there are other simple and easier waste management practices, which we as ambassadors of the environment can begin to advocate, like waste avoidance. If you like, by the time the hands finish up, I will take 15 minutes to talk about waste avoidance. I think that is very important. I will do that. It's either now or maybe in the next 15 minutes. I don't know which one you will choose, but I will deal with that.
Continue.
Okay. So, but let me also answer number two. Then I'll come back to this number one. Number two is we talk about population, reducing population growth. Well, that is a fantastic idea, but it's not very friendly because there are a lot of factors against it. You have cultural issues, you have religious issues that may not permit its success. But the very fundamental thing is that the carrying capacity of Nigeria doesn't warrant a regulation on population. There are different schools of thought. That is for me. And as far as I'm handling this course, no matter what you say, it's me that you listen to. I'm in charge, okay? So for me, you can have your own idea, but for me, I'm against regulation of population growth. Number one, population serves as the market for any economy. Let me tell you, if you don't have people to eat you, even if you are a restaurant, mama put, if you don't have people, category of people that can eat your food, you will be out of business. Even if you are shining shoes, you need people to shine their shoes. If you don't have people that will shine, then what are you doing with that shoe shine, that business? The business is gone. No matter, even if you are barbing your hair, you see so many hair barbing salons around. Each of them have markets. People patronize them. Is it not human beings? So if you say, okay, no more this thing, if you know what people are facing, Japan and most of these countries where population have been regulated, if you know what they are facing, there's an aging population in some countries right now. So the workforce is also almost gone. You see, you have to import people from other countries to come and work do certain jobs, especially factory jobs that have to require energy, human energy. So China, yes, China with their one-child policy, they are still trying to improve on it now. But when they talk about economy, the first thing is population. Do you have the capacity to buy, to uptake what is being produced? Is there that capacity to uptake? Nigeria is the general Africa, not just by economy, but the market is there, the market. Market is the most important thing. Then, because what I'm saying is that if you have the carrying capacity, then there's no need to regulate population. Not to talk of the religious and cultural issues, so those associated issues, political issues. The economy alone will not warrant you to say, if you have carrying capacity in the sense that you have space, there is space that more population can take right now. So you cannot regulate. Regulation is not very, very perfect. It has its long-term problems. So long-term issues are there. It's when you hit, say, maybe 600, that you can start thinking of those issues, 500, 600, 700, a million. Then that is when you start thinking about regulating growth. So I'll stop at that point and go back to my waste avoidance. Okay, so there is what you call waste avoidance theory. So I think you have noise at the background. There is what you call, there is a waste avoidance theory that is at the forefront of waste management systems worldwide. And it's the World Bank is very particular about waste avoidance. The principle behind it is that no waste, no production, no consumption or service should be contemplated except it generates no waste or only little waste that can be handled. No production, consumption, or service should be contemplated except it generates no waste or only little waste that can be handled. So it is a thought process altogether. The first thing is, whatever you want to do, you have to think in your brain and be satisfied that that thing will not generate waste, a single waste, or it can generate only little waste that you can handle. That is it's a brain matter. It's a thought issue. It's something that has to do with total utilization of your thought process. If you are 10 in number, the first thing is that the concept should be very famous in your thoughts. Anything you see, anything you have to do, any strategy that you are bringing on board, is it going to generate waste. If he cannot, if he must, is the waste little that you can handle? If it falls into those two categories, then it has passed for waste management, waste avoidance strategy, waste avoidance policy. So it has a hierarchy in which you operate. The first on the hierarchy is actually avoidance. Maybe tomorrow I will look for this thing and bring it up. I can't start searching. That is what happened to me the other day. Something that I have. I searched it all through my document. I couldn't see until after. So I don't want to start searching for it now. But tomorrow I will show some of this, what I'm saying. I will present it to you. So on the hierarchy at the apex is waste avoidance itself. So after waste avoidance, you have reduction, you have reuse, you have recycling, you have treatment, and then disposal in a sanitary landfill. So the preference is in ascending order. In other words, waste avoidance is more preferred. Avoidance is more preferred. So what do you do in your daily life? Any service you want to provide, any consumption that has to be made, any production that has to be made, you ask yourself quickly, does it produce waste? Or is the waste only little to handle? And I will give you examples. If you go to the bank, if you go to the bank ATM to withdraw money, if you put in your card and then at the point of bringing that money, the ATM asks you whether you need a receipt. Waste avoidance say you should say no. Okay? Because if you say yes, the receipt will come out. And in most cases, if you go there, you will see a lot of receipts. People that collect the receipt and just dump on the ground. So avoidance said on the demand side, what you can do, you say no. No, and then you will not see that receipt. Because you will still see the alert and all the balances that the receipt will give you, they will be in your phone. Okay? If you go, then that is number one. If you want to charge your phone, if you want to charge your phone, any network that you want to charge, if you go and buy that printout, that printed edition, the one.
All right, thank you very much. It is as if network took Prof out again. But the conversation was very interesting about waste avoidance. Is a way to go. So let's wait a bit. Maybe it will soon come back. So we need more contributions. We need more hands to be up to contribute to the conversation this morning. It's very important. We are just doing more of a review of what we've learned for the past 72 hours. We want to have a review, we want to rub minds together. And from that conversation, you see that more things are coming up. The issues of waste avoidance came up from that conversation. And I would like to say that it's better we stay in class. A lot of us come to class and just move out. It may not be only prof that may ask for attendance. Other lecturers may end up asking for attendance. And the Zoom technology at the back end, the technology can know how many hours you spent in a particular lecture. So please, we need to stay put on these lectures. You don't switch in. We were 130 something, but about 10 people. And I understand that some of those persons, it may be network, but some may even say that the class is not interesting and they have left. And network have captured them. The time you came in, the time you went out. The system knows all of that. All right, our assistant class rep, your hand has been up. Even though Prof is not here, you make contribution and other persons can also make input. Over to you, ma. Miss Susan Ajen.
Good morning, everyone. I hope we're enjoying our time in class today. I wanted to talk on the waste avoidance policy under the World Bank waste hierarchy. That's the first step under the World Bank waste hierarchy. It talks about avoiding waste. But even under that hierarchy, there is still minimization, reuse and recycle, recovery, and then disposal. As Prof was talking about avoidance totally, I don't know. I felt like avoiding waste totally is not possible, because if you're only looking at waste from industrial waste and maybe plastic waste and single-use polythene bag waste, that is just part of waste. We have other waste. We still have agro waste, like farm waste products, where after you harvest your beans and you process it, you throw the chaff away, you peel cassava, you throw the peels away. Like, we still have agro waste. So this, I feel like recycling the agro waste and also the circular economy that the other person proposed will be more efficient, because you cannot just avoid waste totally. It's not possible. Already we have waste on ground. So I feel all these policies should be put in place together. It's not a single policy that, okay, we're just going to avoid waste and that is it. We have to avoid waste. As we are avoiding the waste, we put policy in ground to recycle the waste we already have. And then we also make policy to ban some product, like the use of single-use plastics. In some developed countries, yes, they've successfully banned that. And I think in some states in Nigeria, like Lagos State, there was a time that the Lagos State governors banned, and the Lagos State government banned the use of nylon. I remember that I saw some videos. They were going to market and seizing nylon and plastic waste bag. If we're able to ban some of this single-use plastic, it will force the company and then the customers to request for biodegradable bags. There are so many stores now that you go to and they offer you biodegradable bags. Like, you see the bag looking like paper. Those ones are biodegradable. Even when you litter them, if the rain fall, they will be degraded. So they can implement policy like banning some of these plastics, but total avoidance in this economy, in our Nigeria, in our current situation, if we are being realistic, is not going to be practicable, because apart from plastic waste, we still have other waste, other type of waste. So I feel recycling and also putting infrastructure in places where we can recycle, also give credits. Like in some countries, when you
sell to your waste, you get some profits or you get credit and all of that. I know this policy are creeping into the Nigerian system gradually, but it will also help to reduce waste. Then another thing I believe is charity begins at home. If you want anything to work well, it should start from the home front. So many people are saying introduce environmental studies into education. It's not just for the teacher. What are you teaching your children at home? Are you teaching them to pick up after they use, or are you teaching them to litter? Are you teaching them that the environment is very important? They should not just go about killing earthworms, killing ants, and also they should be animal friendly. These are some behavioral changes that we need to inculcate in our Nigeria and culture, because I know that in some homes, when you see cats, the first reaction is, oh, this is a witch. We need to change that, and we need to really, really change some behavioral attitude we have towards the environment. It's not just towards waste, towards animals as well, because if you're talking about waste, we still need to talk about the animals that we have. You see excessive bushmeat. So many animals in the Nigerian ecosystem have gone extinct. We've lost so many biodiversity to excessive hunting and killing, indiscriminate killing. Some people will just sit down and be throwing stones at lizard. You are not eating it, you're not using it for anything. Why are you killing it? And you see parents watching the children doing it and they're like, it's just playing. That is not the right attitude to possess. We should caution our kids. These things have life. As long as they are not harming you, allow them be. That is my little contribution. Thank you.
Is not little. It is a very big contribution, Mr. Susan. I don't know whether there are some reactions to it. Dr. Kufre F. Yongesian, over to you.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Prof. Yes, I just want to add up to what the assistant class rep just said. Yes, I agree with her that we cannot totally avoid waste, but I'm also considering reuse because when I was much more younger, my mom used to have a market bag, a specific bag that she takes to market every day. She go to market. But I've discovered that now, most especially, okay, women learning, I'm not gender biased, but women go to market maybe more than men. But you see them go to market with the empty hand. At the end of the day, they will buy things and buy polythene back. Come back the next day, if you're going to market again, they still go with empty hand. At the end of the day, they will buy things and now buy polythene bags and put those things and bring. It means that if a lady goes to market 5 times in a week, it means that there are 5 polythene bags automatically. It's trying to accumulate waste. So we should also consider the concept of reuse. That can also help to reduce waste within our environment, concept of reuse, instead of, trying to get new one from time to time, you get new one and all of that. This morning, I'm not feeling too well. I went to buy drugs. Similarly, they gave me the drugs. They put it in the polythene bag. I rejected the polythene bag. So the person was looking at me and said, "Oh, I'm fine. Why am I doing that? Because I'm an environmental person. If I bring that polythene bag to my office, automatically I want to discard it. So that's waste." So in most cases, when I buy things, something I can carry, I can easily carry, something I can put in the car. I don't need all those packaging. I just get the product because the product is what I'm interested in. And by that, I'll be able to reduce waste. So we should also consider the concept of waste reduction in terms of reuse. Then I also understand that we still have challenge in Nigeria in terms of proper waste management, because waste management is a process. But here in most states, even in my state, we try to breach it because we don't follow the due process in terms of waste management, because we talk about maybe you can even separate waste from source, then you now look at where you can put what. You see, you have different containers, different colors for different types of waste and all of that. That is not being done. I could remember at that time we even talk about clinical waste that is being still deposited into a general waste bin, and we have the scavengers who are going there to carry, which they could be infected if we have those infected materials from the clinic. So proper waste management approach should also be considered, and that needs proper advocacy in terms of from household. They should know what kind of, you can separate your waste from the home. Okay, this is biodegradable, this is non-biodegradable. Then you go, you know where you put the biodegradable and where you also put the non-biodegradable. I think if we follow those approaches, it can also help, to protect and preserve our environment. That's my little contribution. Thank you.
Are not little, sir. Those are very, very heavyweight contributions that we are making. And our class rep mentioned attitudinal change, not just to plants, to animals, to everything. When we see children killing, some children, when we were younger, we will get catapult, and our own is to be shooting all the lizards in the neighborhood. And you also agree with me that things like lizard are no longer in the ecosystem how they used to be before. So we need to have attitudinal change in all we do, and it's one person at a time. Just like we were looking at those different principles yesterday. God will not come down from heaven to do this for us. We as a people, we must mobilize ourselves to save the planet, not just for ourselves, but for generations unborn. So it is us that we stand in the gap, as it were, so that we bridge the past, the present, and the future. So thank you very much for those strong points you raised. Praise Itelo, Itoro, Esu. Over to you, ma. Praise, you can unmute yourself and speak.
All right, Cosgrave, good morning, class. Cosgrave, please don't murder my name. It's pronounced Itoro. All right, I think Susan has clarified most of the things I actually wanted to talk about. I don't know if people can hear me. Susan
Yes,
has
we can
clarified
hear
most
you.
of
We
the
can
things.
hear you, ma'am.
Can you hear me, please?
We can hear you.
Please, am I being heard?
I guess you need to move away from your background. It's noisy. If not, we can hear you.
Okay, Susan has really clarified some of the things I wanted to say. And then she was talking about the lizard. Well, I wanted to contribute something. Lizard is still in our local areas. Look, lizard is still in our local areas. I think the urban area is where the lizard.
Off. Itoro.
All right, I'm still on. I was saying something that maybe in our rural communities, we still have lizard because like mine, I still have lizard around. It's just that in the urban centers where you barely see lizards. And then we're talking about waste avoidance. Yes, waste avoidance can be achievable. If it's achievable in other countries, it can be achievable in Nigeria as well. But I think why it's not going to be achievable in some parts of Nigeria is one, due to their orientation, education, and advocacy. I think those are just what I wanted to add up to what she said. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that contribution about waste avoidance. And you mentioned something about continuous advocacy. There is every need for continuous advocacy. Mr. Aku, Jeremiah Koshima.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
There is this idea I always thought of as part of control of waste, especially this sachet water problem. You know, that's one of the highest problems we have around here. I was thinking the government could come up with a policy that will force these pure water factories to buy back their own used sachets. Now you'll find people picking and going back to resell to them. So if it's a law that they have to buy it back when people bring it, yes, it may affect the cost of the water because they want to put the cost on the final consumer. But the thing is, it will make our society, our environment look better because people will be scavenging for used sachets to sell back to them. I've always thought of that in my mind. Yeah. I don't know if it's a great idea too.
It's a great idea, sir. It's a great idea. They should have a buyback. There should be a buyback policy, not just for sachet water factories, but for all factories that are involved in producing plastic. You know, like or they use plastic as a package, like 7-Up, like Coca-Cola. The issue again is implementation. If not, these laws are in place, buyback laws. Those laws are actually in place that says that these people should buy back the plastic that is released back into the environment. But most times they don't, the implementation is not there, or the enforcement of those laws on those companies are not there. You know, so it's a great point to raise that needs to be looked into. And again, I will keep saying that we are the advocate. We are the one that can form an advocacy group that can begin to push for some of these changes that we want to see, changes that we help us live sustainably on earth. Mr. Oyima will say, mentioned that there is a law, the Urban Development Act, a law, says that you should only develop 45% of your land. The other part, the other 55% should be green area. But you see that people interlock their houses very tight. And by the time you go into some spaces, you are wondering who gave them this kind of idea. You don't see any tree, the whole place is open, the whole place is sunny and all of that. But by the time we start advocacy, we even take it to the directors, people that give building approvals within the ministry. Because why we're having this training is that some of the persons that give some of these approvals, building approvals within the ministry are not even professionals, even as they know this law. But since they are not professionals, they are not really passionate about it. But by the time we take in advocacy to these places, we will see that little by little, we begin to implement. So thank you, Mr. Aku, for that submission. Mr. Imoto, your hand is still up, but you've spoken before. Mr. George, you've spoken before. Let me give Mr. Ruben Mayangi, who has not spoken before, the opportunity to speak. Before maybe I will get back to you that I've already spoken before. Mr. Ruben, over to you. You can unmute your mic, sir. You can unmute, sir.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you very much. Good morning, course rep. Good morning, my classmates. Good morning, Prof, if you are participating somewhere in the background. For me, what has stood up for me during the course of these series of lectures, is the issue of bioremediation. I think I want us as a group of professionals to start researching to identify those indigenous species around us here that we can use to remediate our environments that have been highly polluted. We agree that our environments are polluted by air, the waters, and the land, talking about all the emissions and the refuse and the associated leachates into the soil, into the groundwater and all. So one of the safest way to remediate these environmental issues is to use the biological way. This will definitely not have side effects. So it will be good for us as professionals now to start identifying those indigenous species that can help us to clean up this environment. I think it will be a good way and a safe way for us to preserve our environment for our current enjoyment, as well as for future generations to come. Thank you. This is my little contribution.
Even we say your contribution is little, it's not little. Bioremediation, it is not a little contribution. It is something that we really need to take to heart. We really need to begin to talk about it. Thank you very much for that contribution. Justina Atsaga Koshma, Abikashima. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, thank you so much, class rep. The name is Justina Ataga Kashimana.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you, ma.
Okay, I want to start my contribution on waste management. Like Prof was talking about waste avoidance before he left. And like our assistant class rep said, avoiding waste is next to impossible, but we can manage it. And in managing this waste, it can also help save or help resource conservation. Like particularly the farm waste, she was talking about that. Waste is not all about plastics. The farm waste for me, I did a project on it and it's like one of the easiest to manage because they're the most easily recycled. And when I said I'm going to talk about cut across resource conservation in this discussion on waste management, when we tell people, we always say we need to sensitize people on using fuel wood for cooking, let them know the effect it has on the environment and why they should stop. But the most important thing is, if they are to stop using this fuel wood, what are they supposed to fall back to? We need to have an alternative solution. And coming back to the waste management now, like farm produce, most Nigerians in rural areas are farmers. If there is infrastructure for them to trade their waste for improved cooking solutions, it will go a long way to help conserve these resources like the trees they use for cooking. I worked on a project using farm waste to make bio briquettes, which is used for cooking. And in my research, one of my proposed solutions was buying waste from farmers and converting this waste to bio briquettes and giving it back to them. They don't need to use money. It's more like an exchange, trade by barter. You give me waste, I recycle it, I process it into briquettes, I give it back to you. So it's going to be a solution. If we're trying to manage waste and at the same time conserve our resources, we need infrastructures that can help us do this. Because for me, even as a literate person, the first thing I hear when you say stop falling trees is like you're telling somebody to stop cooking. And that's what a layman will hear. But we might understand, I know that's not what they're trying to tell us though, but with the realities, if we tell somebody from my village, if I tell somebody from my village, stop cutting trees, the first question will be, then what should I do? What should I use for cooking? So the solution is not always about their ignorance to the consequences these things have on the environment, but it's the alternative. What are they supposed to fall back to if they're not going to use this thing? So if you are trying to solve these problems, which is not something we can do in a day, we have to have structured solutions. Like I was saying, having infrastructure that can help convert this waste into usable biofuels. That's the particular part I want to add on waste management and then resource conservation. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank God your contribution is not small. The rest keep saying that is their small contribution. Thank you very much. And just like you said, it is a near impossibility for us to say we will avoid waste completely. And from the other courses, you agree with me that we have also agreed, not from the other courses, this particular course, that there is a nexus between development and the environment, between economic development and the environment, that as we are industrializing, we should also be mindful of the environment. So one should not be at the detriment of the other. And that is why we come in as professionals to see that development is not done at the detriment of the environment. You know, so as we are developing, as we are industrializing, all of that, and even the environment itself, naturally it will generate its waste itself. Even if we say we are avoiding waste completely, the environment itself will generate its waste that we want to do away with. That is why when somebody dies, it's something natural. You bury the person. So nature itself will generate its waste. It may not be toxic waste, or it may not be to pollution levels, but it will still generate heat waste. So what we want to do is to see how development can go side by side, sustainable living. And the fact that we are already facing some challenges, we are now having these trainings to go out there, be advocates, talk about the issues of bioremediation, talk about how policies can be properly enforced and implemented. That is why we are having this training. So George Akanyi, over to you, sir. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Hello, course rep. Hello,
sir.
classmate. Actually, when I was just listening to everybody, my thought went to the waste avoidance and then management. All has been said. I just wanted to contribute in that aspect. We cannot.
That we also need to speak.
We cannot actually avoid waste because recently what happens is we attend events, and then due to the Nigerian economy and Benue State in particular, you attend an event and then you are given food in a disposable plate, and then you are given a disposable cutlery. Sometimes you wish to take this home, sometimes you eat at the venue. How are we going to avoid waste from such an event? And then you go to shopping, there you are given, there are some items you buy from the grocery shops. They are prepackaged items that are already, immediately you remove them from the package. The bag are no longer reusable. You have to tear them before you get them out. So the right term in this respect should be, how best can we manage such waste? I guess avoidance is just out of place in my own thinking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. How best can we manage those waste? We've discussed issues of proper waste disposal. The waste you are producing, are you disposing it properly? So it's a whole ecosystem on its own. Our government provided designated areas of proper waste disposal. So the issues are enormous that we are facing. But again, we are being prepared as advocates. Some of us have access to policymakers. Some of us are policymakers ourselves. Let's see how we can begin to do things correctly. Thank you. Nanev Onduso, your hand is up. You can speak. Unmute yourself and speak, sir.
All right. Good morning, Coach Wright, and good morning, my fellow mates.
Good morning, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. I was actually very interested in what Prof was saying about waste avoidance. If he was here, I would actually say that phrase, waste avoidance, should not even be used, because, like we are all agreeing, waste cannot actually be avoided. And just like you made an example of waste coming naturally by itself, these things happen. And George just made mention of some goods that are already prepackaged that come with items that are already waste. The moment you get to the real thing that you need, the rest of it is a waste. And there's nothing you can do with it than dispose it. Now, the key thing should be that management. And I think let me just say a little about waste and stop there. But I think about policy and urbanization, I think in Nigeria, the basic problem we have is knowledge, transfer of knowledge. Someone was talking about population being a problem. But I'm not sure population is a problem, actually, because our forefathers used to give birth to 11, 12, 15 children. And still, they had, I don't know how they got to know these things. They knew that it is not good to cut down all these trees. They knew that it is not good to just clear the whole environment and leave it bare without grasses. I don't know how, somehow they knew these things, even without Western education. But these days, we just turn blind eyes to these things as if they're not existing. Like a typical example, one of my cousin brothers, a tree that the father had kept for years. The man passed not too long ago. And simply because he wanted to farm groundnut, he had to cut down that tree. Now, even before me coming to this class, thank God for this class anyways, thank God for this program. It has given me an insight about so many things, making me understand that these policies actually exist. I used to marvel whether they are actually in existence. But now I'm getting to know that they are actually in existence. It's just that people don't really know about them. And then even the few that know, they are just daft about it. They care less. People are more concerned about themselves rather than everybody. A typical Nigerian, sorry to use that, so sorry to say it like this, but a typical Nigerian considers himself and just himself, not the next brother, or not even what happens tomorrow. We are all bent on making money because of poverty. But poverty is not actually the problem too.
All right, Mr. Honduso, Mr. Asif Network threw him out, but we got what he said, that waste cannot be avoided. Even if it can be avoided, it will be minimal. And it means we reinventing ourselves. And, as we were speaking, is to say that Rome was not built in a day. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. We can begin to reinvent ourselves. You will see a lot of new housing estates being built across the country. There is one called Renewed Hope. We can begin to do advocacy. Yesterday, one of our colleagues there mentioned how that the new FCT minister, they are building on greenhouses. We can do advocacy to those sites. By the time we see the original plan of Abuja, we can mobilize ourselves, 10 of us. We go in there as master students and we say, no, from the original plan of Abuja, this place is a green area. And some of us know how to bring AIT and channels, understanding that anything that concerns the present minister of the FCT, it will go viral. So, having said that, there is need for us to reinvent ourselves. Those of us that are close to policymakers, those of us that see someone is building a new estate, we should encourage them, plant trees. Personally, one of the things proposals I have raised was to say that plant trees in all the Renewed Hope estates that are being built by the present government. We shouldn't even wait until the estates are completed. But at this point, all of those estates should have trees growing in them already. So that by the time it reaches completion and for human habitation, those trees are already giving shade and cooling the environment or every other person. So we must be proactive. We must be very, very forward thinking in ensuring that what we are learning, we put it to practice. Mr. Emoto, your hand is still up, but I would like to give the floor to someone that I have not spoken before. Our brother Wange Tewase Moses. You can unmute and speak, sir.
Class rep, thank you so much for the opportunity. Prof, thank you so much for the wonderful lectures. Good morning, class. I've been listening to the various views. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay. I've been listening to the various views of some of my colleagues, and I think all that has been said here has made sense. And it's a very wonderful lectures by ourselves. And if we imbibe this strategy in environmental management, we own the solutions ourselves. So I would like to thank everyone that has contributed, because I've gained something from every statement made here. One, I would want to, I think the last speaker or so, let's not, I want to suggest or observe rather that let's not misunderstood what Prof said about waste avoidance. Prof was not of the opinion by that statement he made that waste can be completely eliminated. No. He made a statement because Nigeria that has a population of over 200 million, if a certain percentage, 30 to 20 or even 50%, avoid waste, not everybody, just that percentage that is significant, avoid waste, it will cut down the volume of waste. Let me be specific. The volume of especially solid waste in our environment. And that is significant enough to pave way for the existing solution, environmental solution or management solutions that we have to be effective. If such volume is, cut down. I think from that sense, that's what he was trying to say. And you and I know that about 30% of our population in this country, we don't have access to a formal or official waste collection. How many of you at your particular addresses that you see vehicles coming from the waste management agency coming to take away your waste? Or even from the private sector? It's just a few, about 30% of that, which is not enough. And Nigeria has about 12% of recycling capacity, which is still not enough. So we need to own the project of waste management, not referring to this Mr. A or Mr. B. We own it. When I get pure water, sometimes I put the sachet water in my car or in my pocket if I'm not driving. It may look insane. That's the little thing I have to do as a step to reduce waste. So these are the simple steps. That's one of the notion I want to make. Then secondly, I want to move away from the point we have been discussing so far a little bit by drawing our attention to something that is very, very striking, that is affecting us in our daily lives, especially those of us living in the Middle Belt and the core north. I'm talking about the problem of insecurity. What of the causes of insecurity in our country today? It may surprise you that is coming as a result of what? Some environmental, some human activities, or some environmental problems that we hear every day, we have learned in schools and all that. Let me single one out: desertification. Desertification over time is creeping. And this thing, the United Nations has said that Nigeria is one of the top countries that is affected by desertification, and it has come to stay in this country. And you and I will also know that desertification is associated with dry land. You understand? Inadequate rainfalls or precipitation and all that. And this gives birth to what? Poor soil quality. Yes, it gives birth to poor soil quality that does not support farming. As a result, people who earn their livelihood from farming are displaced. or those who own animal farms, they do what? They migrate to new regions or new areas. And when they are not welcome in such places like we don't welcome them in Benue State here. In fact, when they come and stay for a very long time, if you have a visitor that has stayed in your house for a very long time, you start behaving like one of the family members. Even some of the animals you rear in your house, I don't know if I'm making sense. Hello? Hello? Am I being heard? Hello, am I being heard? So,
Yes, you are being heard.
okay. So, yes, thank you very much. I thought I was
Thank
speaking
you.
to
The
myself.
our time is
Yes.
actually up.
So if you look at this problem now, once people are displaced, they move to other communities, and human beings sometimes there are people from different backgrounds. There's bound to be conflict, and that is one of the major problems that has generated to herders farmers crisis in the middle belt and some northern and then south region. So until we take our activities serious, especially those human activities that impact on our environment, until we take them serious, that we will start having a reverse, or we take some mitigation steps that we start having, a proper solution to some of these problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Mr. Wange. You always speak with great clarity and direction. I appreciate you. Just a few comments on what you said last. That's about climate change and desertification being the reason for herder migration or crisis in the south or the middle belt of Nigeria. That is debatable. It's debatable in the sense that for some of these herders, some of them have lived with us over the years, and we saw them do seasonal migration. And at some point, we were saying that there were conversations around these businesses those are business people. So they should buy land, ranch their cattle, and provide for water for them by themselves instead of trailing into people's farms and it becoming a crisis. So they should also be able to adapt to those as climatic conditions change where they have themselves. Those should also be able to adapt. They should also create ways which they can be able to adapt to those conditions in the areas where they are. It is not for them to be roaming about in the 21st century into people's farms, and we end up calling it crisis or confrontations, as it were, because the farmers are sitting in their own places or on their ancestral lands or on their farms. These people come to them. So that particular point is debatable, and our own advice to herders, they should be able to create ways by which they will adapt to the climatic conditions they are facing in their places. Because it is not farmers in the middle belt or in the southern part of Nigeria that created those conditions for them to be encroaching on their own livelihood. So they come in, destroy other people's livelihood so that they will have their own livelihoods in the name of climate change. No, it should not be. They should also be able to, I want to repeat and emphasize again, if climate change is a problem, they should create mitigation processes or apply mitigation. I don't know the right word to use now for
Afforestation,
afforestation as well. Afforestation
for desertification.
And all of that. They should do it where they are and don't encroach on other people's land. So we cannot just attribute that to climate change and deforestation. People from the Middle Belt and Southern Nigeria did not go to Northern Nigeria to do desertification or deforestation. All right. So they should not, because they have a problem in their place and they migrate
please, can
to
I
other
observe
people's
something?
area.
Can I observe something?
Yes,
Then you go
we
ahead.
can observe.
Please, I say part of the problem. I didn't say
I know.
holistically is a problem. I say
I
part.
know.
When
Yes,
people
sir.
move from one place to another, crisis comes up. It's just a little part of it. Thank you.
Oh, yes, yes. We will talk here till tomorrow about the political part of it and how some people
Sir,
feel.
please, can I make a comment? Sir, please, can I make a comment?
Go ahead, sir. But our time
Okay,
is
sir,
up.
I want to draw our attention to the issue of pesticides and the destructive impact it's creating on the ecosystem.